granted, in any industry, any profession, you're going to have people who do really well and who are good people and trying to change the industry and trying to actually genuinely help people. And you're going to have people that are no good, like whether it's construction, whether it's the medical profession, whatever it is, lawyers. And at the end of the day, you have to set yourself apart. And there's a point where people are taking shots at our industry. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I said to my camera guy, I said, we're going to do something different today. We're going to read all of the hater comments and I'm going to reply to them. Because a lot of people say don't engage with them. But here's the thing.
Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm David Chinelli. I'm going to be your host today for the DC Talks podcast. I have a special guest, and it's the first time we're bringing in a special guest into the office. Welcome everybody to my good friend Nirsh.
I'm honored to be here. It's called special.
Yeah.
Well, Nirsh, a good thing or not.
And Nirsh, I never say your last name because every time I look at it, I don't even know how to pronounce it. So I just call you Nirsh.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Somebody, one of my real estate friends said the same thing. He's like Madonna. He just has one name.
You have friends?
One or two.
So yeah, I wanted to bring Nirsh in for a number of reasons. So Nirsh, you've been a top realtor for a number of years, ever since I've known you. So I've known you for what, 6 or 7 years now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you've been in the top 1%. Obviously, you didn't start that way. None of us start that way.
No.
But you're also a Remax guy, so I wanted to bring a little bit of different flair into the office. So yeah, let's start off with your journey. Like, I guess you've been doing this for about 10 years, and how did it all start?
Yep. So I had been doing this for about 10 years, 9 years full time. I was basically moving houses. I was engaged and
To an Italian girl, I believe.
To an Italian girl, I know. I was just having this conversation off camera about growing up around Italians. So it's no surprise that I married an Italian girl, and we were getting married, and I was working supply chain for about 13 years, and then I was bored, and I was like, okay, I think I need a change. But we were getting married, so it was like, okay, stay in your job, do whatever, right? And then
we all did.
As we all did. So then we were buying and selling a house at the same time. And I was going to sell my own house. And then my wife's like, do you really need the stress of all of this? And I was like...
And by the way, we highly suggest you don't do that if you're not...
Exactly. So I deferred to her, and I listened to my fiance at the time, and I said, okay, I'll hire an agent to sell the house. And we went through the process, and it really interested me. And I was like, okay, I want to do this, this, and this with the price. And, me and the agent disagreed a little bit. But at the end of the day, he went with my price. And we ended up getting 4 offers. And it was over asking. And I told my wife, look, I'm validated. Like, I know what I'm doing. So shortly thereafter, we got married, moved into the new house. And, 9 months later, my daughter was born. And at that point, I was like, okay, I really want to do something else at this point. I went to my wife, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. So I said, I'll start part-time, I'll keep my job and I'll start part-time, and then, we'll see where it goes. So reluctantly, she said, okay, go do it, go get your license, whatever. So I got my license, started part-time. It was very hard the first year, and my first deal fell apart 3 months in.
Oh, shit.
And I didn't get another deal till 10 months.
Wow.
So... and then at that point, just before that, and my wife knows the story and everybody knows the story now, but the year I was doing it full time, I got offered a package to leave the company I was working with. And, if anybody who gets into real estate, they say, keep 6 months income saved so that you can get through the first 6 months.
By the way, no one ever told me that. But
yeah. So that's what they say.
It's smart. Yeah, it's smart.
Keep 6 months saved. And they were offering me a package that was 6 months. So if I stayed for that year. And
so that was your sign.
That was my sign. I said, okay, I'm going to do this. Now, what I didn't do was ask my wife. I just said, okay, I'm going to do this, and that's it. And now we have a child at this point, and I just said, it's now or never. So 3 months later, I told her that I had she goes, oh, you didn't have an option. I said, yeah, I did. She goes, what? So it wasn't a good scene, I can tell you that much. And we made a deal. She said, I was making just under 6 figures, high 90s. And she said to me, if you don't make what you made in that role in real estate, your first year, you have to go back. I said, deal. I said, but I'm not going back.
Smart.
So the day I left, the morning, it was 9:45 in the morning, I left, got my package, got whatever, left the company at 10:30. I went to the Remax office and I started cold calling.
Wow.
And I'm like, I ain't going back. I got a mortgage. I got a baby. My wife's on maternity leave. Like, it's now or never.
Well, it's funny that we were kind of in the same way. Like I didn't have a choice. I kind of knew it was coming. I was surprised. Yeah, we had this conversation. It was like, and I got packaged. I got the 10 months, so I negotiated 10 months. It was, they gave me 8, I got 10. But it was kind of like, we talked about the last time how I kind of like, packaged out and you didn't really, know what to do. And but I had the same mentality. I'm like, okay, if I'm going to do this, when I had the realization I should be a realtor, if you didn't listen to my first episode, you should. We talk about that. But when I realized, I said, okay, like I said the same thing. I said to my wife, I said, Nat, I said, if I can make the same amount of money that I'm making in real estate, I had, again, no idea how much realtors made. I was making just over $100,000. So it was just under that range. And I said, if I can do that, the kids don't get affected. No, like the lifestyle doesn't change. So there's no difference. She's like, but my wife and I were a little bit different because she already knew I was not happy with what I was doing. It wasn't what I should have been doing anyway. So she was like, and I've already encouraged her. This is like, she's in her second career or something like that too. So I was always one encouraging her and holding back on mine. So very similar how we both got packaged out in different ways, but it was, I talk about God and all that stuff. Mine was my push. I was like, I knew something was happening and I know God gave me a push that way. And you got the same realization. There's your 6 months. It's like, whether you believe in God or not, obviously I do, but I thought it was my push, right?
Some things just happen at the right time for you and says, okay, this is what you need to be doing, or this is what, the next part of your life is.
Yeah. So funny how that works out. And you're saying Remax, but you didn't start at Remax, did you?
I didn't. I actually started at Home Life the first year. It was a Home Life up in Vaughan. That's where I live and trade a lot. And
I could say something racist, but I won't.
So
I love you.
Of course. So listen, I started part-time and I went to this Home Life. I'm like, oh, this is a nice little brokerage. This looks good to me. So I went door knocking. So, back in the day, a lot of the kids today, or the people getting their license today, don't realize like we still door knocked and cold called. So for the first 3 years, I cold called. I door knocked every weekend when I was part-time, and I started door knocking on Saturday mornings and Sundays. And I knock on a door and they're like, "You're with who?" And I said, "Home Life." And they were like, "What's Home Life?" And I said, "It's a real estate brand and I'm a real estate agent." And I said, "Okay, like, why am I selling my brand and myself?" I said, "Something's wrong here." Then I knocked on the next door and they said, "You're with Remax?" And I'm like, "No, but I'm going to be." Right. Oh, nice. I said, after that, it was like, I'm going to be. I had a contract for a year. I'm like, I got to wait it out. And then I got recruited about 6 months and I said, I got to wait. I got to finish my contract out. So I pay them whatever I owe them and be done. The minute I did that deal, I deposited the check. I went and picked up the check from the real estate office and I deposited it. And the next, 5 minutes later, I called the secretary at the Remax office. I said, "Send the resignation letter to the old office." And it was over. And then it's been Remax ever since.
So besides the brand name, so I always say when I have a listing presentation, there's only really two names that people mostly know in Canada. It's, Royal LePage is Canadian and we're proudly Canadian.
Yes.
Remax is American, hence the colors, blue, white, and red.
Yes.
Yeah. And I guess people don't know the differences between brokers. Well, actually with those two, they would know, but you're showing an aspect of a smaller company, why people don't go for there too. But between Royal LePage and Remax, why do you like Remax?
Well, we have better parties. Our yearly conferences are in Vegas. And Vegas, if anybody knows, is my happy place. I've been there over 40-something times. So I
can say something about your character, but I'm trying to be nice here, buddy.
Listen, when I was younger, I was a gambler, I was a partier, and I still enjoy having fun.
Be careful about that.
Yeah, I know, especially in this industry.
What happens in Vegas doesn't always stay in Vegas. I've learned. I've never been to Vegas, so I wouldn't say. I've never been to Vegas.
Oh my God!
As much as I love my wife, and I said the people that I know are in Vegas, I'm just like, I trust myself, and I'm just like, but I don't know what to expect. I would go with my wife, 100%.
Yeah, you go with your wife. If you go with people like us, we will go to you go to nice restaurants. There's great shopping. There's great shows. Cirque du Soleil. There's a lot of great things there. Even if you're not a gambler, the restaurants there are high end, and like you have great experiences.
Yeah.
There.
So you have a conference there every year.
Yes, it's called R4.
R4. It looks it's a little more exciting than what we have here in Royal LePage, huh?
Yeah. Well,
where'd we go this year? Like Manitoba? I don't know. Or like Winnipeg?
I think you guys went to Montana, didn't you? It's everybody with cowboy hats and thing. You know what? That's just not my deal.
Yeah, I know. This is the one thing I will give to Remax is like that's what recruiting they're like, and it's a huge thing that I get recruited by Remax a lot.
I'm sure.
Especially your manager, like
of course
every time we talk to him, he's like he puts his nudge in there too. But I love my brand, I love my office and stuff too. But again, and I would never like. I think your office is amazing too. So I think that's a good aspect. That's the other thing. So you can have friends in other offices. It doesn't mean you have to recruit
and
them.
other brands.
Yeah, other brands.
Exactly.
Absolutely, there are some good brands out there. So the one thing I always laugh, and we've talked about this off air. Like I just wanted to see, like, I wanted to jump on your website and look at stuff, and I was just like, and I noticed all your awards, and you probably noticed, like, what the fuck, like you have. What are all these things? And I like, okay, let's be honest. We talked about it's like, and you probably say the same thing about our awards.
Your awards at Royal LePage are the hardest thing to figure out. Like 2% of all the agents in Canada, this, that, the other. And I'm like, okay, just tell me what it is. Like, is there a dollar amount? Is there a units amount? What month to month does it go to?
That's the thing is like, honestly, I didn't know half the time. Like the first time I won an award, and I remember I emailed my office. I said, did I win an award? And she starts laughing. She goes, yeah, you won an award. I was like, well, what? And I got the award. I'm like, what does this even mean? I had to research and find that. But do you find that people even care besides us?
I think it gives you some sort of credibility that, you've won something, even though they may not know what it means. Like, it's pretty easy to figure out what the Remax awards are. Like, if you Google it, you'll find the limits. I mean, I can explain if that's something that's really interesting people.
No, I don't think so. I just like, but you want like something like a Titan or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's funny because like your level is like, so for example, our diamond is not the higher ones, where diamond's higher for than certain things.
Yeah. So ours is diamond is the second highest, and then pinnacle is the highest.
Okay. What's Titan?
Titan is third in line. Okay. And Titan didn't actually exist till about 5 years ago.
Yeah. Well, they just added a new award, which I won last year, which is like, so it goes top 1% is the chairman's. What they do is they call like, basically they figure out the money for wise, and they get the 1%. But everybody below it, it's like, then they start this new category, which is executive circle, which is a new, which I got. That's okay. Then it goes like red diamond, and then there's like ruby, and then they just add these other categories. And it's like,
because the gaps are big.
I'm tapping out.
The problem is a lot of these ones, the gaps are really big. So you have a lot of people in a certain thing where they've done a good chunk of change, but they're just shy of the next award cycle. But when your award cycles are, 250 grand in difference, like some people are doing well and they may have got 200 of that 250.
Yeah, I get it. And same thing. Yeah, like I remember we had an award in which I earned almost $1 million more than the other person who had the same level as I had. That's why they came at this other level. And they're like, this is not fair, right? So it's just like there's a lot of, it's just that there's certain, like, because the 1% was the gap was huge, right? So
absolutely.
And anyway, I get it. But anyway, at the end of the day, it's like you do very well for yourself every single year, and like you're pumping in and out. Like I said, like, we have sometimes a competitive talks back and forth.
When I grow up, I want to be as successful as you. And, at the end of the day, like, listen, at the end of the day, for me, it's not about the awards, it's not about the money. And I often don't talk about money because I just don't think that defines if you're a good agent or not. You might have done a lot of deals, or you might have done some deals that just paid more. But what really defines you is how many families you've helped.
100%.
And that's where I kind of try and focus my attention.
Well, we talked about this in the last podcast. It's like, attracting like people. And that's why I think me and you, like, so a little bit of history with us is like, I had a listing, it was earlier in my career, and I had a client in which we tried to have a bidding war, and they didn't accept the offers. And you called me, like, you were like, Dave, I'm listing this property. I know you don't know me. I'm listing this property. What numbers? I'm like, well, I'm not really supposed to say numbers, but we kind of talked a little bit vaguely what they were. And yours property was also a townhouse. It was around the same property, but yours had a little upgrade. You're like, should I go at, and remember the lesson, like, should I go at $699 or should I try the bidding war? I'm like, dude, don't go to the bidding war. Just price what you want to. And we talked for about half hour. We hadn't even met each other, but there was something, an attraction between us, and like whatever way you want to say it, but it was like versus like. And I think we had such a good conversation. 100%. You end up listing the next day, $699 sold in one day.
2 days, I think.
2 days.
Yeah.
So, and you called me, and then we talked again for another hour after that. And then we hadn't even met each other. And it was just, and I think from that point, and then we started ripping each other ever since then.
And if I remember correctly, you didn't sell that house.
A year later, I had to sell it.
Oh, a year later. Okay.
We took $40,000 less.
Yeah.
A year later. Yeah.
That's the funny thing. I think that was 2017, if I remember correctly,
correct.
and the market was changing. That's why you were like, don't go to the bidding war. It's like, nope, I didn't. And then the guy was like, okay, how much can we negotiate? And I'm like, listen, I can put you in a multiple, so accept the price because we didn't hold it out. First come, first serve. And, that's where, you and I talked back and forth. And then we talked and said, okay, you got an offer, a clean offer, we're good.
Take it. Take it right.
And, I think that's how more agents need to be. You need to collaborate. You don't need to actually give numbers, but it was, it's stuff to help all our sellers and our buyers to get things done. And to further that, Dave and I just kind of followed each other. I'd have a listing somewhere and then he'd have a listing, or he'd have a listing and then I would be there. And then I remember selling something in a market that was coming down and Dave's like, what the heck did you do with that listing? You gave it away. And I'm like, listen, this is the story. Yeah. And when they realize the backstory, then you realize, okay, this is the story behind it.
Yeah.
And, but any information helps in building relationships.
We had in Maple. Yeah, I remember that one in Maple.
Yeah, Red Maple. Yep.
Yeah, you had a basement apartment, which you said, this is the feedback. Does yours have a basement apartment? And we're like, no. I'm like, you have to knock 50 grand.
No, it was a condo.
No, that was the other one.
No, Red Maple was a condo.
No, not Red Maple. That was a different property we had.
Oh, okay.
The one in Maple. The one, it was just off of, I was at Isaac
Murray?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. And I was on Limosano, maybe.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you had just sold before we went in there. Yeah. And another agent had listed and we were talking about that. And we're like, and yours is a basement apartment. Like, that was your comment. And I said, no. And like, okay, knock. So I had to go back to my clients because we did our research on it too. We weren't just throwing it on there, and we help each other out wherever we
100%.
can. 100%. I love that. Yeah. We'll talk a little bit, like some other people think we're colluding and like we're saying that online. We'll talk about that in a second, but I want to get back to you and just pulling it a little bit. Right. So every year you're pumping it out. You're making good money. Right. So how do you stay motivated every year?
You know what? The more I help families and the more I see, like, especially in markets like that we've been in the last year, where I see people like we get them out of trouble, or they get them, let's say they're separating, and unfortunately during COVID, and you've seen it, I'm sure, and I've seen it. I've done more divorces than I care to do. But, it's trying to get them to their next place and their happy place, because they may not be in a good place right now. Or, families that are trying to move up, or families that are downsizing. The more I help them, and it's the small things, the small comments from them, or the small like little reviews that they'll do, and when you read those stuff and it's from their heart, you see it's not just a regular review. It's like, okay, you've actually done something good in the world, despite the online comments that this will be another part that we talk about, I guess. But the online comments about our profession and our industry, where we take on a lot that a lot of people don't see. Emotionally, it's draining. And so for me, the more I help, if I help somebody and, there's a reward in the end for them, I'm happy. And yes, we get paid for it, of course. But like, I look at my kids and I'm like, I want them to have everything I didn't have. And my wife, like, she's Italian, and and
you're not Italian, so it's harder coming into that type of relationship. So like, you gotta try. Sometimes in the beginning, you have to try a little harder. Say, listen, I'm just as good, if not better, than Italian. Like, I get it. Yeah, I get it.
My wife is like, she'd stay far away from the Italian, so I think that's why she married me. But listen, I just want to give my family everything. I want to make sure everyone's set, and I've always had a type A personality, a gold personality, where it's like, I'm driven and I need to be amazing at something. I'm very hard on myself too. So that kind of drives me to stay like, okay, let's do this. So don't get me wrong. I have bad days, but I got a good circle of friends and people like yourself, or other, agents in the office, manager, who I can talk to about, like, when, this industry is not all, sunshine and rainbows.
No.
You have a lot of shit days and deals fall apart, and you're having to sell houses 2-3 times, and you're having, like, I've had numerous wives or whoever cry during the process and cry on my shoulders. And like, so, when you're helping somebody to get to a good place in their life, and then like 2 years later, you're talking to them and they're very happy, that's the reward for me to keep going and keep me motivated.
So what is your why, would you say? Like, I think I've said before, like, why I'm trying to help change the industry. I really am. But my why is obviously my family, but I'm trying to elevate the real estate experience, because I had so many bad experiences going in there too. And it was just one of those things that I want to make sure that I'm helping little by little to change industry. What's your why? Like, why do you do this? Besides making the family, like, listen, we're always doing this family. We're always and we're trying to help people. I'm talking scale a little deeper than that. What is your real why? What do you want to do with this?
I think there's many aspects to real estate that people don't get. And I think, like, there's other sides, there's like development, there's other stuff. So I think learning this industry inside and out and helping grow this industry, the right way. Like there's a lot, like my biggest thing, and you'll see it on some of my posts, is collaboration over competition. And I will put other agents on my Instagram all the time, and I'm sure you've seen it. Yep. And, one person asked me, why are you putting other agents on your Instagram? I said, because I'm not threatened by anybody. At the end of the day, if somebody feels that David Chinelli is a better fit for them, and they saw it on my Instagram, great. I'd rather my friend David Chinelli get the listing than some stranger that I don't know, because I know that person will be well taken care of. Yeah. So when people call me for advice, people ask for stuff, I'm trying to help, like you are, change the industry. And I give a lot of free advice, to the point sometimes where maybe it's like I'm not taking enough time for myself or sure. Family or whatever. But at the end of the day, I'm trying to make things better, because a lot of real estate agents are really good-hearted people. And like in my coaching circle, these guys will help you, hands down. They'll send you their listing presentations. Like I'm in Richard Robbins coaching, and I know, Chris and all our friends there. But like, it's the most genuine amount of people. And I think that the industry needs more people like that in it. And for example, like you're a shining example of it, because you're the same way. You help people. I can call you up. We can talk about stuff. And that's what it is. This whole industry should be a collaboration, because then our clients win. Because imagine we go into a bidding war and you're arrogant and I don't like you. Do you think you're going to get the deal done for your client, or your ego is overtaking the client's thing and need to sell their house? Yeah. You think I'm going to want to deal with you? No.
Well, I've actually won. Obviously, like we both have, because they liked my personality. I've walked back in the day. We used to do bidding wars. We used to do them in person, right? And we used to bring the check with us. We'd bring our offers. Our clients would sit in the car, and we would have the good thing I love about our brokers, they kind of taught us how to do this kind of stuff. So, but you bring your own personality in there too. So you come in, and you talk about your clients and things too. And I've literally had agents call me back and say, listen, can you come, but we need a certain dollar value. You're a little shy compared to everybody else, but my clients want to work with you. They like your story. They like you. And I've literally won bidding wars where the clients had higher offers, because we did everything that the clients liked my guy's story, and I was able to paint them that story. It's not always a dollar figure.
It's not always a dollar figure. And I can tell you the exact same thing. I've won tens of 20 multiples in because I basically made a relationship with the agent, and I painted my client's story, and same thing. And they want to work with us. So it's like, okay, they're not giving numbers, they're not doing that, but they are saying, like, my clients want to achieve a certain dollar value, and can you bring that? And they like you, they like your clients, they like how you're prepared. They know how much your down payment is. They feel with your ability.
It's huge.
Absolutely. They feel that the ability to close with you and everything that you've done up to now and what you've told me, they're ready to go. Like they prefer more your clients. And, so I can tell you it's all about relationships. And what people don't realize is anybody who's doing a lot of business in this industry will run into each other, whether, Dave and I, our first listing that we talked about was in Bolton. Second listing was in Richmond Hill.
That's right.
Third listing was in Maple. So, Dave's office is downtown. My office is in Vaughan. But look, all of those listings are all over the place. But top producing agents are going to run into each other everywhere, because our clients trust us anywhere in the GTA, and even sometimes outside the GTA where we may or may not refer it, but they trust us. And so if you make a good relationship with agents, you don't think that David Chinelli is going to want to work with me? Especially just to say, I beat you, or I beat you in that negotiation, or just.
Well, that's the only thing you could probably beat me in. Like if it comes down to dollar value, because I don't know if people know this, but we're avid Pelotoners.
We are.
So I thought I'd throw that in there, and I'm able to. In the beginning, before I had Peloton, you're like, you're not going to be. You were talking shit, big shit.
I was talking shit. And I got schooled pretty fast. I didn't think a guy your size, with 22% body fat.
I no longer have 22% body fat.
Okay. Sorry. I need the updated numbers. Could smash his Peloton that like heavy. And I didn't know. I mean, I knew Dave was a hockey player, and I knew he was strong, but I didn't think like he smoked me. And I had nothing to say, and I put it on Peloton, and I put it all over my Insta story that like, I got to give him praise. He smoked me good.
Yeah, you're
I didn't know he was that strong. I was impressed.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate that. You don't get that very often. It was like, because we bash each other, and that's the first time I actually thought you actually said, I'm like, what are you going to say now? And you actually was, when you did that on Peloton, I'm like, shit, I have nothing to razz him about right now. Like you took away all of my glory, like just by doing that.
That's, there's a point where it's like, if you're beaten, you're beaten. And I can take, I mean, I don't like it, but I can eat crow for a little bit.
I appreciate that. All right, so back to just keeping the daily stuff, right? Like, so one of the questions I had here, like you're very organized. I think that also helps when we go to bidding wars. Organization matters. How you present yourself matters. How you clients and your listings are all very. The reason why I like the same thing you do as I do too. Like it's very clean from at least the looks compares to that. So you're pretty organized, right? So a couple questions. Like, do you have keeping organization? Is there goal setting that you have like every year to do that? Do you have a daily routine in what you do? Does your coaches help? Do you have an assistant? And do you have a team? I know it's a lot of questions in there, but how does that all fit into this organization?
So I'm very, because I said I'm like very high gold, high type A personality. I've got to have systems in place. And over years, there's trial and error, figured it out. So like my listings have to be presented the same way every time. So got to have staging, got to have professional photography, got to have cleaning, got to have whatever the client needs. And this is where like a lot of people don't get it. A lot of that costs money, and this is part of it. Where everyone agents think that, okay, look, they make this much money with awards, but what they don't see is what goes into listings. And I'm sometimes $5,000 to $13,000 into listings to make sure it shows well. And that comes from painting, staging, cleaning, like whatever the client needs. If I have to bring an electrician to change some lights, as long as my clients pay for the lights, I'll bring the electrician to change the lights for them, because we're trying to get them the most amount of money. So, but it's a process that over time has evolved, and we've got good contractors that support us, and will drop on the drop of a dime, and they'll come paint a house that I need to go out on the market next week. Now, because I have OCD, it needs to look a certain way, but I've also had to grow. I've had to hand off. And part of that was letting go and having my coach help me, and my colleagues in the thing saying, you got to let go to your assistants. I've had an assistant for 5 years, and actually in February 5th it'll be 5 years. And she's a gem. Her name's Sonia, and she got licensed about a year ago. But basically, I've had to hand off stuff to her so I could grow and do more of the stuff I love doing, not coordinating the painter, the stager, the cleaner, but doing the stuff like having the conversations with the clients, spending more time forward facing with the clients. And because the process is in place and she knows who to call, she knows what's next, she knows when we're going to do listings. Like I don't bring listing paperwork, she gives it to me. And honestly, I'm a handshake kind of guy with my clients, and I'll sign listing paperwork the day of. The morning of, also because, in changing markets, you need to know the price, right? But I've spent $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 in the house and I don't have listing paperwork, and it drives her nuts. But generally, I'm very organized. So she'll give me the paperwork. It'll be in my email. I just won't have it signed. Because sometimes I'm changing the price, like
of course,
the night before, the day of, right?
Yeah. Well, I say that to my clients too. Like so I do mine a little differently. Like, so I'll present something to them. Like I'll have everything organized. Yep. My assistant does a ton of stuff for me. So most of my social media posts and stuff, I'll record the stuff. She'll edit them, do all this, because that takes a lot, because I can focus on that kind of stuff. Like people are like, how do you be able to post it? I'm like, I'm not posting. Like she'll prepare everything, all the write-up stuff. I post on TikTok because she's not access, because it's a little different form. So we're playing around with that one, but everything else she'll do that. Like I'll get her to start the paperwork, all that kind of stuff too. And again, then I do, like, obviously you want to look at the comps and all those other things too. There's certain things that we take on. Absolutely. And little by little trying to get more and more and more stuff. But the idea of an assistant is always to help, or a buying agent, it helps to take things off your plate so you're able to focus on what makes you money and your clients. So, and giving the service that you need to. If you don't give a good level of service, you're not going to have clients, you're not going to make money.
Exactly.
So somebody asked me too, and I'm like, when do you bring on an assistant? I'm like, before you need it.
100%. You have to dive into it, and eyes wide open, but you have to dive into it knowing, okay, I'm going to take on this salary, and I may not be there. So I did it in 9 years, 5 years. I did it at year 5. And, at that point, was I ready for it? Maybe not, but I think I was like, okay, I think if I do this, it's going to be, it's going to help me grow, and it's going to get me out of doing stuff I don't actually want to do. I don't like doing paperwork. I do like my CMAs, like you said, because when I'm in front of a client, I want to make sure I can speak to the numbers.
Absolutely.
Because I know the adjustments. I know what they sold for. I know all of that. So like I'll do my own CMAs where, some assistants.
So
will do
CMA,
the
for those that
CMAs.
don't know, it's a competitive market analysis. It's basically what we look at. In the past, we used to look at three that's recently on the market, or 3 that have sold, and then 3 that have been terminated. Now, mostly depending on what market conditions are at, sometimes it's just we look at solds because there's nothing on the market because we have low inventory these days. So basically, we're looking at comparable houses, so we call them comps, and we try to adjust the price based on certain things, certain aspects. And there's certain things we just don't like. For example, if you have a pool, I don't give a shit. It's not going to make it. Like I try to explain this to people. I just spent $500,000 on a pool. Yeah, that was for you. Congratulations. No one's spending $500,000 extra for your pool. I hate to tell you that.
Yeah,
you may get a little bit more.
Yeah, you may get 2.
You may. Yeah. Or you might have somebody who looks, that's great. I'm going to fill that in with concrete.
Yeah.
So it's like, anyway, that's why, and I agree with that. I think it's huge. So people ask me too, like when I would think it was the 4 or 5 year mark when I got it too. And it made a world of difference to me. And it's like small things. It helps. So yeah, and I would say that the aspect you're giving over there, it's not just in real estate. It's like when you hand things off, in order to grow, you can't be everything to everybody.
And that's it, right? And, and there's certain things where you're going to be good at certain things. And if it's hopefully the customer facing things. And if you're good at the customer facing things, the other stuff that are also maybe customer facing things, but less fun, you're going to have, your attitude is going to be much better there, where you're not doing stuff you don't like to do, or you're not staying up late to do paperwork or anything like that, right? Like, and then you're going to have more family time. And, in the end, handing off stuff is partly to, relieve you of stuff at work that you don't like doing, but to also, round out your schedule. Because people don't get it, that like, people are like, oh, you work for yourself, you can make your own hours. I'm like, yeah, I can work from 9 to 11 p.m. Yeah. Right? Like I'm in the office at 8:15, and there's nights where I've gone to bed at midnight, 1 a.m. after a negotiation.
Well, yeah, I wake up at 6 o'clock. Like I know, like you guys laugh at me, my schedule, but I lift in the morning. I lift, and then if I jump on the Peloton, it'll be after that. And then I'm at the office. I try to be here because I'm always checking emails and stuff. So I'm here around 9:30. But there's days I've gone home, like it's 1 o'clock in the morning, you're still working on offers and stuff too. And guess what? You got to wake up at 4 sometimes early to get things started. It's just the way it works. But people don't see that, right? They no one, and we don't expect, we're not crying. Listen, it's not that point. It's what we chose, it's what we choose to. We could be a lazy agent. So I can do one deal a year and just be like, because we all have friends of ours that have an amazing year and then you don't see them for 3 years.
Of course.
Just different life aspects. To me, that's not really fulfilling what I want to do. That's not my personality. I'm like, good on you. If you're able to do that, good on you. I have a wife and kids to pay for.
Well, that's it, right? We have wife and kids. We have investment properties just like you. So for us, it's a matter of how can I make my life better? And it's by handing stuff off, spending more time with my kids. My kids grew up in this. My daughter's 10, turning 11. My son's 8. I'm also in the point of next 10 years, I want to be more present. So I've got to let go. And, and now that, Sonia has her license, it's better for me because now it's like she can go do a showing. She can go to an inspection for me. She can take on a buyer that, I just don't have time to run around with. I'd rather go to my son's soccer game or my daughter's gymnastics.
Yeah, we're transitioning to, so my assistant at the time, she's pregnant again. So we have another younger agent was working with me too. She was kind of doing, in between stuff. Like, so she's going to be taking over that role. Oh, she's already licensed and she's did the before of the assistant. So we're kind of going to balance the two of them. And I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's one of those things that we're really looking forward to. Yeah. But I know I'm talking about goals with you and stuff too. We'll talk about haters in a second, but it's, but do you do things, I don't know about you, but do you do things that stretch you out of your comfort zone just to make sure it's on a daily basis? So to remind you where you are on your goals. Like, for example, like I have my whiteboard. I always have my whiteboard so I know my goals, where I am. It's always in front of me. It's always present. I always know where I am. So it's not a question mark. I don't put it in my desk to figure that too. But what I do on a daily basis, also there's things that remind me, like I got a nicer car because every time I jump in that car, guess what I remember? Shit, I have a payment to pay for. We just bought a house last year and these fucking interest rates are killing me, but I'll just say that. But every time I pull in my driveway, I'm like, fuck, I got to go on work my ass off. We get nice watches, nice jewelry. Like, I like my Rolexes, like I got a Rolex and it's like every time like I wear it, it reminds me that I got to work. I could have sat on my laurels. Like I didn't have to buy any of that shit to them, but I didn't want to become fat and lazy, not do it. So I have daily reminders. Do you do anything like that?
So I have I have a goal thing. I have a business plan. I'm always tracking towards that on a daily basis. So like, I don't like having money in a bank account, to be honest with you. I'd rather just buy properties. And my wife and I have bought multiple properties, and and we have a few closing, and it's funny because at the end of August I stopped taking listings last year because I'm like, I can't help you get a price that doesn't exist. And
we've had this conversation,
right? So, but I stopped taking listings, and then come October. So basically, from August to October, I was just like, I would take phone calls, but I wasn't really working, and I'd sold all my listings by the end of July. I just did some pre-construction stuff, and then come October, I'm like, shit, I don't have any more closings other than it was like October 5th was my last closing. I'm like, shit. And if anybody understands real estate, you're in 90-day cycles. Basically, people buy now, and then they'll close in 60 to 90 days, and you'll get paid 2 weeks after it closes, generally 1 to 2 weeks, depending on how long the lawyer takes to cut the checks. I'm like, I need money coming in. Right, I had a closing in December. Then, of course, after 4 years delay, my pre-construction condo is ready and it's going to close December. I have another one closing tomorrow. I have another one closing in April to June. So those are my reminders that say I've got to work. I've got a house. I've got 2 kids. I've got, bills. My wife, during the pandemic, she quit her job, to manage the kids in schooling. And so I'm the breadwinner. Yeah. So I've got 5 mortgages to pay for. And so those are my daily reminders, but I wouldn't have it any other way because when I have money sitting in the bank account, I get a little lazy. So for me, it's like I want to also be able to fly to Vegas. I want to fly to Italy. I want to do wherever without having to think about it. So those are my goals of, we've wanted to go to Italy since, pre getting married. And for other reasons, it didn't happen. And so now it's but that's like a $20,000 vacation.
Yeah.
So in, 4 or 5 weeks or whatever it is. And so for me, these are my goals I want life experiences too now with my kids because they're old enough where they'll remember this. I want those life experiences. So those are really are my goals where I want to go buy a Porsche or I want to go buy something, without having to just think about it.
Yeah.
So
it's all, we just it's the same goal, but different mentality. Yeah. It's like every January I always get worried where I'm going to be because you never know in the market, even though I'm very confident I'm outward and I think there's always going to be good, but I put pressure on myself saying shit, what if you have no deals this year? And I do that to myself on purpose. So, it's funny. And I have a reset. I'm at 0-0 at January 1st. I don't give a shit what I've done in the past. I don't rest on my laurels. I don't think anybody should. In order to be consistently busy in this business and doing well for other people, you need to be working.
100%. And that was the wake up call actually I think I got this year because it's usually you have carryover. And for anybody who doesn't know what carryover is when you do a deal in October, November, and it's closing in January or February. So at the beginning of the year, you have money coming in and you haven't done any deals. Right. Well, this year I had no money coming in. So I was all eating away the money that I did have coming in, then moving money around to do the closing because now the closings, anybody knows, closing in real estate, you're putting out $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 to close this stuff at least. So it's a significant amount of, money that you got to put out when you don't have new money coming in. So it'll drain you quick. So I had to get back to work and, and so that's really those are my goals. So it's like you, I have the houses, I have the our cars are paid for, but I have 2 kids that, they need stuff. Kids aren't cheap.
No.
Groceries and mortgages and those are the ones that basically make my goals for me. But from a business plan point of view, I have the goals, but being able to pay bills every month is a goal.
Yeah. So we're gonna wrap it up pretty soon, but I did want to touch on one thing. I've alluded a couple of times about the haters. So Nirsh and I, we're going back and forth at the beginning. We made fun of your website before. So I'm big on talking as videos the last few years and stuff. And you've caught on and you're actually doing I love the way now you're talking in your videos and all that kind of stuff too. But that also comes with backlash. Is not everybody has the skin for it. We talked before, we talked about a couple of things. You actually went out and did those. I like those tweets, and you're
the TikTok trolls.
Yeah, the TikTok trolls are awesome. You want to talk about a couple of those? What the people have said?
Yeah, listen. At the end of the day, a lot of people think we make make too much money, and that we are the slime of the earth.
Yeah.
And if people really knew what it was that we do and what we do in the background and the value add that we bring. Granted, in any industry, any profession, you're going to have people who do really well and who are good people and trying to change the industry and trying to actually genuinely help people. And you're going to have people that are no good, like whether it's construction, whether it's, the medical profession, whatever it is, lawyers. And at the end of the day, you have to set yourself apart. And there's a point where people are taking shots at our industry. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I said to my camera guy, I said, we're going to do something different today. We're going to read all of the hater comments and I'm going to reply to them. Because a lot of people say don't engage with them. But here's the thing. If you don't engage with them, people will think that's true.
Yeah, it's 100%.
Right? So I started going after the TikTok trolls. I went back at them. And, there's a guy on Twitter who was posting my video. He's going after a lot of people and he hides behind a fake profile. And, if you want to come at me, I'm okay with it, but you better show your face.
Yeah.
Right? You can't hide behind, you can be a keyboard, everyone's a keyboard warrior. So, they said, you're scum. You guys aren't worth the money you charge. And I just said, okay, let me read them out and let me explain what, I'm trying to say. And that's just what I did. And then I guess it caught on and a lot of the industry liked it.
Yeah.
And other people, they would send my friends texts and they'd be like, I like what you did there. Like, we know you're not like that.
Yeah.
And what they're saying, but to the average person, they don't know. So sometimes you have to go back at these guys and it fuels them, but you have to go back at these guys to make sure that like people know. So it was more of
and that you're a real person too. Like you're not, and you're also a smart person. Say no, like, so I remember like how many times we put a listing like, oh, you guys are ruining the industry. You realtors. Yes. I'm like, how are we like, we're listing the property. We're saying what the comparables, we do that analysis. We put out there. We're not telling anybody to pay for what something they want to. How are we ruining the industry if we're selling the property which somebody's willing to pay?
Well, that's the problem. There's been a supply issue in this country for a really long time, and specifically in the GTA. Yeah. Because it's a melting pot, and I was having this conversation off thing. It's a melting pot of a lot of different cultures, and it's the most multicultural place in the world. And when you're not building enough houses or condos or whatever it is to supply all of those people, but you're bringing in 400,000 or 500,000 people a year in immigration, they've got to go somewhere. And they're not all coming here as refugees. They're coming here from countries that have money, Russia, Middle East, Asia. And, they're coming here with money. They need a place to live for their families. So, it's not us who are doing it, but we're the people who are running the bidding war for our clients. So we automatically are, you're scum, you're making people overpay. No, if people didn't want to overpay, they wouldn't come bid on this house. It's not us. It's a supply and demand issue. It's issues that are bigger than us. But, I'm trying to dispel the myths of, we did not create this problem. If you have a problem with it, you should talk to your local government, because the development process, for anybody who doesn't know, takes about 3 to 4 years to get something approved. If that red tape and the costs in there, what people don't get is, okay, let's say you buy a house for $1.3 million, $160,000 are development charges, that's government charges, and another $130,000, $140 is HST. So right off the bat, everyone doesn't see there's $300,000 in development charges. There's about $1 million in the, in what it actually costs. But, let's say the builders are making $250,000, $400,000 per house. But land is very expensive, and it got very expensive. But a lot of it is government tax and red tape that is causing the problems that we can't get houses built fast enough. But the realtors, we're on the front lines, so we get the shit under the stick, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, and that's what I say. Like, I think our industry is going for video, being exposed, like wherever you're supposed. Like, you should be open accounts, talk and engage with these people and talk with the people. Like, I think we need to do that, but you also have to have thick skin. Like I had this poor agent. She just had an agent, and she put a house on there, and people were ripping on her. She come back, she goes, David, I don't know what to say. Like, they're ripping on the price, and I'm like, yeah. Happens all the time. It's like, oh, this house would have been like $200,000 where I live. Well, it's not where you live. So it's like you just have to have a thick skin and talk about that. And I'll close off. But the one thing I think you and I both agree on, I love the fact that we're not always about the money. And we both have lost money because we had houses up for sale. We've staged them. We've done that. And instead we told our clients, it's probably a good time to lease. We both had that happen recently. We both took it about 10. So one thing I like to do, and I think you do the same thing, I try to ease my clients with all the risk. They don't pay for anything. Basically, it comes out of my commission. So I tell them beginning, like, so one of the reasons why I get the gig, I'm like, you don't have to do a thing. I'll get my cleaners in there. I get my stagers. I get the electricians. I do the same thing as you. Like, you don't pay me $1. All that happens, you're going to pay this percentage. This is all included in here. And it comes off the top. You're not opening your purse strings at all. Now, there are certain situations where we are looking out for our clients and saying, I've said to my clients, like, here's the leases, what's going on right now. We've took about $10,000, $15,000 hit. This one property I had last year. And I'm like, but we leased it up for a year. And like, but yeah, they knew like we were going through the same struggles. It wasn't their fault. You had the same situation. And I've told other people we've gone up. Like, so I took that hit. I said, it's fine. It's part of the industry. It's part of it's like, that is fine. And they said, I'm like, no, I don't want you to pay anything back.
Right.
And then there's other times we look at our clients, it's like people wanted to sell. And I said, here's the leases right now you can keep your property, has a lease, pull the equity, buy something else. Then if the market goes change over that and you want to sell, then at that point you can. I'll make you make your own decision. But let's run these numbers first before you figure it out. And I tell them I want to give all aspects. I actually just put up a condo for lease. I probably could have put up for sale, could have made money on it, but I think it wasn't in the best interest of the client at this point in that type of market.
The thing is, if you go in with the mindset of put the customer's needs and what's the best interest of them first, money will follow later. Yeah. So like same thing, taking hits, but I've told clients, well, why don't you lease it out? I'm the guy who says, keep the property, refinance it, take the money out and do what you need to do with the money if you can afford to. Yeah, we're going to take a hit. I've had clients say, I'm going to write you a check for what, just tell me the cost. I've never taken a check. And, my wife, my assistant, my licensed agent, she's on my team. She said, we got to put this in your Schedule A that they got to pay you back. I'm like, why? I'll never enforce it. So, and there's points where we're risking, I got a listing right now. I'm probably $20,000 into the listing, but I didn't put anything in the Schedule A because I get opportunity to sell the house. And if it sells, I win. If you don't, it's okay. But I'm looking for the long-term relationship with clients and know that I'm invested, and it's not about this, $3,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. Like that comes and goes. And, you can't have a business sometimes also where you're going to win every single time. Right. But if you're doing the right things and you're getting enough business, you can sustain a small loss, going forward. But put the customer's interest at first, and everything else falls into place, I find.
All right, so we're going to wrap up right here. But I want to say, if what would be your top three? And after this, we'll click cancel. Okay. If somebody's looking for an agent, what are the top three things you would tell somebody looking for an agent? So I put you on the spot here.
Top three things looking for an agent. Okay. What do they offer as part of their commission package? Because people can put it up at 1%, but they're not doing anything for you and just putting a sign in the lawn and praying for a buyer to come. Do the numbers make sense when they present their market evaluation to you? They have to make sense, and it's not always what you want to hear. See if they're going to tell you the truth about the sales compared to your house, and not just saying, yeah, your house is beautiful and I want 1.6, but it's actually worth 1.3. Right? See if they're going to tell you the truth, because that's what you want to look for in an agent. Even if, it's not what you want to hear, that's really what you want from your agent, honesty. And the third thing is, do they have a track record, or are they on a team where they have leadership where, the team has a track record of, they know what they're doing? Because in a market that we're in right now, if you don't know how to have price reduction conversations and you don't know what you're doing and you're not very into the details of the listing, the prices and price reduction and what's happening in the market, your listing won't sell. And you need to be able to have uncomfortable conversations. So
absolutely.
Those are the three things I would say.
Love it. Well, Nirsh, thanks again for coming today. Awesome having you. Thanks for coming to the DC studios.
I love it. Nice job you did here.
Yeah. So join in with us next week. We hope to see you. Thanks again, Nirsh, for being the first guest on DC Talks.
Thanks for having me.
All right. See you guys next week.